What is marriage to me? I don't know.
If you have to like define it, I guess.
What is marriage to me? Being with your soulmate?
Okay. And then what is your ideal image of marriage? I know you're already married, so like...
I don't know. Boom!
Oh my lord, my ideal image of marriage.
Skip.
Wow.
Marriage for me is the union between a man and a woman, and very traditional idea, and where the substance, the fundamental things is when two people are bounded together with love, and they are committed something to sacrifice.
My ideal image of marriage would probably be based off of trust and honesty. I would really want to marry someone that I fully trust and that we can be 100% honest with each other, because I truly believe that a marriage doesn't actually work unless you have those two things, and loyalty as well.
Do you believe in marriage?
Of course I do, because marriage shows that you really love someone and like strengthens that bond that you're going to be with them, hopefully forever.
What does marriage mean to you?
It means unity and love and commitment, and most of all, I think a partnership. So like having a really awesome wingman to get through life with.
So marriage is the most profound sense of feeling that I am home. It is a lifelong commitment. It is a mutual feeling of love and respect and friendship that I share with my husband. It is a place that provides shelter so that I can express my true self and feel comfortable that I won't be judged. It allows me to be vulnerable and know that I will be safe and unconditionally loved. It's marriage is my soulmate. It is the desire to bring out the best in one another. However, after 25 years, we probably more often bring out the worst in one another. But that sense of home still remains, and it's grown with the birth of our children, and it stays strong. So that's what my ideal image of marriage is. It's really all about being home.
A legal government document?
Yes, 100%. I mean, it's still when two people care about each other, things like that. Trying to start a life together, but realistically, in every sense of it, it's for tax purposes.
Yeah, and benefits and
insurance.
That's,
I think to both of us, it's not something super important for everyone, like to where people kind of like force people to like, you have to get married. It's the only way to like show your true love. I don't necessarily believe that.
Right.
I believe you can still be very happy being together without being married.
Right.
Though it's still, I think it is a big step for people if you do.
Right. I think it's a big step in like commitment, especially because it is like we said before, a legal government document. Like, you need to have that marriage certificate to take your partner's insurance, to have the medical benefits, to have, I guess, legal rights in decision making for your partner. But I don't think it's a necessity to have a perfectly strong relationship.
I agree.
I mean, you can have a lifelong, strong, wonderful relationship without having that marriage.
But I do think you bring up a good point. I do like the idea, because that was like, because a lot of people are like, oh, why, especially when it comes to like gay marriage, when they were trying to get legalized. Right. We have this conversation where it's not that big of a deal, but there are parts that it is, and comes
legally,
to medical stuff
deal.
like that. Yeah, because you literally can't make decisions for someone that you know in and out.
Right.
Low key, marriage means a lot to me. I really hope to find the one. but with our generation, that's it's like coming down to a very low possibility where I can find that one chick that is it's not a Tinder and it's not a hoe, and that not all my friends know. So
To be happy and healthy and spend the rest of my life with the person I'm in love with.
Okay.
Describe your ideal image of marriage.
Go ahead.
The idea is sitting together.
People being together, loving each other, and trying to
Right.
put
I
a life
feel like you should
forward.
have that. You should already kind of have that stereotypical marriage relationship before you even get married. Like, that's my whole point of view of it. It's like, if you're not going to sign that legal document again without having that already concrete, 100% committed, loving relationship, then it's like your marriage is kind of going to be doomed.
What does marriage mean to you?
Marriage means love, compassion, understanding your other half, being there for one another, also caring, and having a lot of trust built within two people. So marriage and overall can work out in a good way, in a safe and healthy way for the your partner.
Somebody that you respect, somebody that an ideal marriage is somebody that you respect, that you can disagree and not be disagreeable, somebody that you
can trust.
Period. Somebody that you love. In an ideal marriage is somebody that you would be willing to give your life.
And also rely on advice. Dependable, that's always there for you when you need them.
Guys, the real enemy here is the institution of marriage. It's not realistic, it's crazy.
And that's it.
See how easy that was?
Yeah, except for the marriage ones.
Some of the ones that usually have been the easiest.
Family means love, honestly.
So what is your ideal image of a family unit?
Oh, just one where there's love, a lot of love and acceptance. Whether that's, a single mom and her kids, or a mom and a dad and their kids, a foster family, someone who's adopted, grandparents, an aunt, a godparent. There's no specific thing. I think really just a family unit is where there's love and there's acceptance and there's support and you have each other's backs.
So my ideal image of the family unit is the family that I have, my 3 wonderful daughters and my husband, who is the father of my children. Family is an extension of marriage, so again, it's the construct of home in the emotional sense that I share with my children and my husband. Family is a place of refuge and unconditional love. It is, family is the ultimate sacrifice. I would literally lay down my life and die for my children. I'm not sure about my husband, as much as I love him, who would take care of our children, because no one will take care of them as well as I will. Family is a place of trust and support and responsibility and accountability towards one another. It's a sense of ownership that we share with one another. It's a place of learning and encouragement, and a place to be challenged, to better ourselves. Family is a profound sense of togetherness.
I have so much love for my family, and I don't know who I'd be without them. I think my family is like my rock. They keep me together. They make me who I am today. And if it wasn't for my parents and my 2 sisters, I don't know where I'd be. I mean, after all, I did follow in my 2 older sisters' footsteps. We all went to Indiana University, and we all ended up in the same sorority. So I can say that my family has had the biggest influence in my life.
To me, so for the first part of that question, family is to me, family is everything. I think family is your home. So whether you've moved a bunch as a child, or even in your adult life, if you've moved away from your family, whenever you come back to your family is home, and it's a place where you feel the most relaxed and the most like yourself. You can be completely yourself, and everything, no matter what happens, will be forgiven.
It's like it's a group of people living under one roof and sharing everything together. So there could be the laughter, sorrows, and and disagreements, agreements, joy, everything. So that's the family is something that you say yes, as the whatever it generates from the union of two people in love.
Do you think children benefit from being raised in an environment with multiple caregivers?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the more people that are paying attention to children and the more people that are caring for children, the safer the environment is. I read a book recently called Tribe, and it basically argues for that point, that when we lived in tribal societies, the entire society was responsible for raising the children. And now that we've gone away from that, there's more depression, sadly, a lot more suicide, which never used to happen in tribal societies. So I think that that's all because of a lack of feeling connected, and multiple people being raised by multiple caregivers just only enhances the connections that the children feel at a really young age.
I think that it could affect them in a positive way, but also a negative way. So, like, in the positive way, they would have more people to look up to and to, like, help them, like, while they're growing up, and learn different lessons from each parent, because I know not every parent is strong in, like, a certain field when it comes to, like, helping their child grow. So having more of that could help them, like, be more successful in more, like, areas of themselves. And then, but, like, it also could be a negative because it could be confusing for a younger child of what exactly is going on, or how there's so many people around, and I don't know, it could just, like, affect them in their later life.
So how do you think polygamy affects children in the sense of how they're raised? With more than one mom or more than one dad?
I feel like it's kind of like when parents are divorced, maybe. Because like when you have like your mom and your dad separate and then they find other people, then that's your stepmom and your stepdad. So I feel like it might be similar. But I also feel like that might cause problems, because if they're not your birth parents, you might not respect them the same way that you would, your normal, like your original mom and dad. So it'd be a little complicated maybe and confusing.
Even if the child has been with them since before birth?
Well, yeah, because in school they teach you like mom and dad, and then they're gonna be like, wait, what? Like.
So yeah, exactly. So what does the family unit look like to you typically? What's your ideal image of like the perfect family?
Mom, dad, and kids.
Mom, dad, and kids.
And a dog.
Okay.
I was raised with my grandma. Like, my parents both worked full-time jobs, and I was with my grandma, for as long as I can remember, since I was probably 3. And then when I turned 5, she moved in with us, and my grandma still lives with me. So she's been with me since I was 3 years old, and I'm going to be 25 this year. So she's been there every step of the way. So I had my parents and my grandma raising me. I think I turned out okay.
Yeah. No, I mean, you get different perspectives. You get this, different people raising you, and especially when you have stuff like that where it's different generations. I mean, in that regard, she already had a generation of raising before. So she can bring in the things that she learned, what she knew, into that, essentially that relationship of, stuff that her dad and her mom may not know. And because they were there, it got, it brings them a little bit more together and a little bit more cohesiveness, and again, you get to see different sides, and it also doesn't, it deburdens the load of raising.
Oh yeah, it helped
kids.
my parents so much. My parents, they didn't have to take off work. My grandma was always there. And then with her living with us, she did work part-time, so it also helped money-wise. Because, raising my brother and twins, it's a pretty heavy burden on a family. Oh my God, yeah.
Families forever, traveling through time, and family is the world at its best.
That historic Supreme Court decision legalizing same-sex marriage across the land, and it's profound. The 5-4 vote, in many ways reflecting the huge societal shift of the last 20 years.
Across America, the changes came. Sometimes surprising, often shocking.
Do you support gay marriage?
Absolutely. I think you should be able to marry the person that you love, as long as it's two consenting adults. They have rights. They're humans.
That's fine if that's what they want for a purpose of being legal in case of one dying, or and they have maybe financial banks or money or home together, and so this way at least it's split equally. For that reason, yes. But as a marriage, no.
It could be legal, but why are we adding the word marriage?
Because I have a lot of gays and lesbian friends, actually. I have a lot of, actually there are a couple of coworkers of mine that are gays and lesbian. I wouldn't judge any of them. They're really great people, actually. Yeah, I would totally agree with them being happy. If that will make actually the world a better place if you really think about it.
What about gay marriage?
Yes, because you have the right to love whoever you love, and it shouldn't be kept by a barrier because they're the same gender.
Do you agree with the legalization of gay marriage? 100% I do. I am very for gay marriage everywhere to be legalized. I think that it doesn't matter who you marry as long as you are in love with them, and it has no effect on anyone else's life.
Do you believe that human beings are monogamous by nature?
Yes.
So you think we're just meant to be with one person for the rest of our lives?
By law? Yes. By nature? No.
Yeah, so I think that by nature, human beings tend to would probably gravitate towards having multiple partners just because it furthers the species. So I think that for men especially, it's in their nature to want to produce as many offspring and heirs and things like that as possible. And so just like how monkeys do, they're going to try to pass along their seed to as many women as they possibly can to better their chances of having children and furthering their genetics. And that's what humans exist to do, is to further their genetics. And so the males especially don't tend to be monogamous by nature. Females, I think, would gravitate more towards that, because by nature and just genetically, females are looking for security more than anything else, and the security of their children. And so they needed back, thousands and thousands of years ago, would need the security that a male would offer in a group situation. But I also think that there's a lot of things that humans would do differently by nature that would not be acceptable anymore. So that's definitely changing. It's great.
I don't. No. There's a lot of history in the past that definitely contradicts that. Only in the last couple hundred years has monogamy been really a big push, and that's mainly been with religion. Before that, you look at Alexander the Great. He was very well known for having these big, essentially orgies and stuff like that, and between men, women, doesn't matter to him, and it was just being in the company of other people, sexually, physically, whatever, that he enjoyed. and that was very common for the times.
When you look at the Greeks and the Romans, and they were known for taking multiple partners, different genders. Even the Spartans were given at one time a partner when they were teenagers, and it was usually of their same gender, and they almost had a marriage-like relationship. And that was, way back before Christianity became mainstream. So again, I think the whole monogamy thing started after Christianity took off. That was, I think, push it.
Do you think that human beings are naturally monogamous creatures?
I think naturally, I'm not 100% sure, because naturally I would say naturally maybe you can be, but there's definitely that like barrier where like you can also be like in love with two people at the same time. So some people, no, I would say it's not naturally, because some people who are in love with two people at the same time, they still have to choose if they want to be with one person, and they're.
Do you believe human beings are monogamous by nature?
Yes, I do. I do think you can be in love with two different people. I think that I wish I'd seen that question first. That's a really good one.
Have you ever found it challenging to remain loyal in a monogamous relationship?
Yes.
Why?
Because, well, when I was younger, because there's, I don't know, you just find other people attractive, and
I did not find it hard to remain loyal whatsoever. I think that loyalty should be one of the number one things, or the top things that comes with any relationship. So, no, it's not challenging.
Do you believe a person can be in love with multiple people at the same time?
Yes. I do think that some people can be in love with multiple people at the same time. It just depends on the person. Me personally, I could not do that. I just think that if I'm in love with someone, that I'm going full in for that one person. I would never be able to be in love with someone else. I do believe that people can love many other people at the same time, but it depends on the person.
Do you believe a person can be in love with a man and a woman at the same time?
Yes, I really think anything's possible. Once again, this doesn't apply to me. I would never, I am only interested in men, so I would not be in that position, but I do think anything is possible when it comes to other people.
But love is like a very strong feeling, and like it's hard to be in love with two people at the same time. I think that you'll always have a little bit more love for like one of them than the other.
And do you believe human beings are monogamous by nature?
Yes.
Yes. And then why?
I don't know why. I just think they are.
Do you believe a person can be in love with a man and a woman at the same time?
Yeah, I think that you can be in love with two different genders, because I hope that if you're in love with someone, you're in love with their soul and not their physical being. More so than their physical being.
Describe how you feel about polygamy.
I think that polygamy I think it could be legal. I know that it's not in almost every single state, but I think personally, because I believe that people should just be with whomever they would like, as long as it's mutually beneficial and as long as it's an arrangement that works for both parties, then I think that's fine. I think people should be able to kind of do what they want in their personal lives. I'm sure there are reasons that it has been illegal, and one that comes to mind is maybe that in polygamous relationships, the men tend to be put in a position of power.
Because what is the purpose of having multiple wives? There's one benefit: to have more children. And that goes back to the whole religious side of, procreating and this, that, and the other. there's no benefit of having multiple wives, in my opinion. Legally, you can't do it. Because then you're giving that, like, let's say the husband gets sick or he's gonna die, he's on his deathbed. Now you have 4 women fighting over that decision of what to do.
Right.
It's not legally. Plus, insurance companies would just have a fucking fit. Excuse me. Sorry. Sorry. They'd have to cover like 4 people plus 30 children. You know? There's no way. No way.
I also noticed that you use it more like men having
Multiple wives.
Sounds like a good time.
How do you view men with multiple wives?
Once again, doesn't bother me. I question how they afford them.
I think the idea of it, there isn't necessarily a problem. I think the way it's implemented in our society today is because a lot of it is one male, many females.
Right.
Get out of here. It's one male, many females.
Yeah, you never see one female, many males. You never see that.
And even not to that point, a lot of times they're even if, let's just say it was, which I don't agree with, strictly male, one male and many females. What you get a lot is the whole idea is it's supposed to be like equality between them all. It's not always. A lot of times it's, the male is usually in those cases supposed to provide. They're like, the women are not really meant to go out or do anything. Their job is to take care of the house and the enormous amount of children, which is fine to an extent. But my biggest issue with it is there's a lot of equality. Either some of the wives have more because they were there earlier when the guy had more money, and now that time's gone on, he may have less. And I've seen, documentaries and stuff like that where some of them live in impoverished kind of areas, and they live in just almost unbearable places, and the guy's only there maybe once a week, to visit and do his deed and go to the next one. And that's what I'm not okay with, because sometimes they're in the same household, sometimes they're not. So it kind of defeats the purpose, because to me it's not always being raised in a household where it's multiple caregivers. They might be a little bit, but they might have their own separate places, and it's not the same environment of them all coming together. It's still separate.
I guess I don't see that, because that TV show on TLC, Sister Wives, there's 4 wives, 1 husband, and there's one big communal home that they can all go to, but each wife has their own separate homes. And again, each wife has her biological children living with her. So at the end of the day, she has the legal guardianship over those children. When they're all together, all the sister wives help each other raise the children. All the children are comfortable with the wives as another caregiver. Coming from a legal standpoint, that's where you run into problems. Because again, you're not that legal guardian. You can't make those legal decisions for those children. But the father, in that sense, from what you see on TV, he seems very doting with all his children. But it's like you said, he can't spend every day with every wife or every child. So, one day he's here, one day he's here, one day he's there. So from that perspective, I feel like that's disruptive to the children's lives. They have their mother there constantly, but their father's not there constantly, So I feel like, but I don't know, it's like a touchy subject, because that's not necessarily a bad thing. You see, single parents raising their children, and those children grow up perfectly fine and great contributors to society, and they only had one parent.
Right. And again, it's not, like I said,
I think it's a per case basis.
Correct, and I think that's what a lot of things are. But the way a lot of stigmas come out of it and things like that, and those stereotypes that we get, a lot of those tend to be true.
Right.
Not all of them. Again, I don't know.
I think in theory it's great, because they say it takes a village to raise a child. So I think in theory it's great if they get along and they all help each other and they love the children like their own. Cool. Legally, not a good idea.
Yeah, and again, it is completely how they decided to raise it. If they do it in that idea where it's a community kind of thing, it's great. But a lot of times it's not that.
I think that's just
oddly confusing. At least there's like structure to one husband and multiple wives, or like one wife and multiple husbands. But I think when there's like, it's like an orgy.
I'm totally fine with polygamy. I think that people should be able to do what they want, whether that's, you know, marrying someone of the same sex, or getting a sex change, or marrying multiple people at the same time. I think that that's all kind of their own prerogative. What I would be uncomfortable with is if it's not mutually beneficial, where I start to think that lines could potentially blur. There could be some potential for a dangerous situation, is especially in polygamous relationships where the man has multiple wives. It does give the man a power position, and one that is not usually reciprocated, because having multiple wives means that it's easier to kind of like ignore one, or potentially make it more difficult for a certain person. When you have multiple other people you can turn to, you don't always have to work every problem out. You're not constantly having to get along with each other if you can go be with other people as well. So that's when I think that it could be potentially harmful to someone's well-being and emotional well-being, and I think that it could lead to an abusive relationship, not physically but emotionally. So that's where I would start to get nervous about it. But other than that, as long as it truly is mutually beneficial and something that both people are really happy about, then I have no problem with it.
I do not necessarily agree with polygamy. I think that a marriage should be with two people no matter what their gender is, or like anything like that. But I do believe that marriage is between two people who are very much in love and want to spend the rest of your life with them. I think polygamy, kind of is like a very sensitive topic, just because I think that everyone has a different opinion on it. But I think that I personally believe that you should really only be like married to one person and have children with one person in that like time frame that you're married to them. And I think that like polygamy kind of like changes that. How do you view the men with multiple wives? I think that they honestly are kind of selfish in a way. I think that's a way for men to cheat on their wives, but like not really consider it cheating, or like not see it as cheating in their eyes. And I guess like if the wives agree to it, then like that's their business. But at the same time, like I think that a marriage and that title of having a marriage should be between two people.
I find it interesting when people use religion as an argument against polygamy, because it's been practiced in almost every major religion around the world. Judaism, Christianity, Hinduism. It's seen as early as the Old Testament. What does polygamy look like in the Hindu culture?
Polygamy looked like in Hindu culture as in the past. It was kind of a different thing. Right now, like our culture is getting changed after coming into 21st or from 20th century, I can say. Before that, in some part of the Hinduism, it was accepted for having a multiple wives at the same time, or a multiple husband at the same time. But now, if you will see in the history, like from past like maybe 50 years, from last 50 years, then it's hard that anyone has having a more than one wife or one husband, because now it's not in a part of Hinduism to to marry multiple wives or multiple husbands.
So in India, is it still practiced, or is it only here that they stopped doing that?
It's been stopped. From a couple of years ago back, they actually stopped it, I guess after the independence, when everything got separate after 1947 and everything. They actually stopped in India, and now it's not allowed. But I guess there are maybe 1 or 2% people who are still keep practicing for that, for keeping a multiple wives or multiple husbands at the same time. But basically, out of 100%, it either be a 1 or 2%. That's it for that.
Okay. And how many wives do they typically take on?
I guess I'm not sure, but I can say I can say 2 or 3. One is like everyone is getting to marry to one person, but after that also there are some people who still try to keep like 2 or 3 wives at the same time.
Why did they stop practicing it?
I guess like they feel like it's not the right way, and that's not that if you are already in a marriage with some of the one woman or a man, then to marry with another person is not the right way to be in the religion. So I guess it's kind of basically it's come out from the religion that the religion doesn't accept that thing for marrying for getting married to a multiple women or man.
So why is gay marriage not allowed, but polygamy was?
Like before, like there are many people who are in India who still don't know what the gay marriage is and what is the gay is. Yeah, that's the true, and but basically it's kind of illegal and it's not at all allowed in India. And if someone goes in that, then they'll be like, oh, then you've been kicked out from your religion.
Peter, what are all these women doing in our living room?
Well, I wish I took your advice and picked a new religion. I'm gonna be a Mormon.
A Mormon? Are you sure?
Come on, nailing a different wife every night, that's a no-brainer.
For some, they become kind of culty. Not all of them, but I mean, there are ones that, documentaries I've seen where essentially they've escaped it, and it's one of those things where it's not about the children, it's about the males in that society.
Right, the controlling.
It might be only one, but like even if they have a male son, the son is not treated well because it's kind of like an alpha male kind of thing. It's now he can have dominance, and sometimes you'll get it where they actually get kicked out of the communities. They get completely exiled from their whole family just because they're a male, and they're not abiding by the same exact rules. And to the actual like alpha male, that's not okay. So they'll kick them out so that they can keep their dominance in a very culty kind of thing. Again, not all, it's not always like that, but the ones that are like that are, the stereotypes you get, things like that, and that's the problem where it can come with polygamy, I see. I don't think it itself is bad, but I think that's a lot of things. You look at, communism, socialism, stuff like that. They all have a lot of good ideas.
Theory, yeah.
In theory, they're great. Utilitarianism is also a great, in theory, idea. But they all tend to break up, and when they're put in practice, the people in charge ruin those ideas.
Right.
It sounds great to give everyone equal share. Well, when when everyone gets an equal share, it's only what they're willing to give. Whenever there's 100 things, and everyone could have one thing, but there's still the high ups that keep it away from everyone. The public gets an equal share. The high ups still get more of it.
But behind this facade of normalcy is something you can't see. Every aspect of this family's life, who they marry, what they wear, even what they eat, is controlled by the man they call their prophet, Warren Jeffs.
Obey the prophet when he speaks, and you'll be blessed. Disobey him, it is death.
Like, that is just it's like a commune. So that to me is confusing and slightly undesirable.
Do you believe polygamy should be legalized?
Yeah, I believe it should be, only because it began as a religious aspect. Now, granted, Warren Jeffs deserves to be in prison. When you take advantage of it and you use it to harm people, then no, it should not. The law should be against it. But if you're doing it out of respect and love, and that no one is being abused, either a wife or a child, then I think it should be legal.
Members of the LDS flagrantly displayed their polygynous lifestyle until the pressure of American society and the puritanical majority prevailed, forcing the Latter-day Saints to abandon polygamy and succumb to the realities of the modern world. Conventional wisdom triumphed, and polygamy was officially outlawed in every state in America. However, in the last few years, polygamy has garnered much public attention, with fringe communities in Utah, home to the Latter-day Saints, and other groups popping up on the internet, all wishing to revisit the notion of polygamy. The families in Utah have chosen to ignore federal law, insisting on a de facto polygamous lifestyle, brazenly holding marches in their state capital, campaigning for legalization.
I am a fundamentalist Mormon. I am married to two amazing women who chose to be married to me by their own free will and choice. I have my wife Katrina and my wife Lillian. if I had an intimate relationship with Lillian, but I did not say that she was my wife, then the law can't touch me. And yet, because I say that she is my wife, the law can incriminate me.
It's not a good law because they're not able to live in the light of day, to be able to live in with their families out in society like anyone else. The thing is, people are trying to attach these problems of fraud, child abuse, whatever, all these other problems they're trying to say are polygamous problems. That is not a polygamous problem. That is a human problem. You find those same things in monogamous society the world over. So, and there are laws to take care of those things.
My parents are in a plural marriage. My parents are polygamous, and I'm here to support their right to live the way they want to.
Their opposition to this bill is they feel like the fact that they, as they practice polygamy, they say they don't practice sexual abuse, fraud, and spousal abuse, and they feel like as long as the statute is a criminal statute, that the people that are involved in polygamy are under the background, that they don't come out in society, and that there is retribution against them, and that there is unfair prosecution, that they lose jobs because of it, because of their desire to practice polygamy. That's their main issue.
As a matter of fact, the economic reality of family has always been the motivating factor for any marriage arrangement. Legal contracts exist to serve and promote the economic stability and expansion of family. Bride price, bride wealth, groom service, bride service, gift exchange, and prenuptials, to name a few. These contracts are designed to protect family assets and encourage prosperity through carefully crafted unions. One of the most notable examples is royalty, where strict legal contracts are still enforced. Religious contracts support legal contracts but are not lawfully binding in Western culture. Conversely, in many Muslim cultures, it is the religious contract that supersedes any state law, even trying to impose the religious contracts in Western society. Although polygamy had not been openly practiced in Western society for quite some time, the lifestyle was briefly reclaimed in the United States in the late 19th century by John Smith and the Latter-day Saints. Okay, what about the legalization of polygamy?
No. Me personally, I don't think so.
I feel like a lot of stuff would just get really messed up, and there'd be like a lot of fraudulent marriages, and I don't know, I just feel like it's a big change, basically.
Like for society?
Yeah, like I feel like society's not ready for it.
Do you think polygamy should be legalized?
I think polygamy, I would be okay with polygamy being legalized. I don't feel strongly about it. It's not something I would campaign for, or I wouldn't vote a politician in on a ticket of polygamy, but I do think that if it's an issue that enough people brought up, and if it were something that everyone felt strongly about, I have no problem with it, so I would be fine with it being legalized. I'm not against it. I just don't think that I would campaign for it or push a bill through with polygamy over a lot of other things right now.
Okay, thank you.
At the same time.
Yeah. Why not?
So do you think it should be legalized?
I think anyone should be able to be with whoever and as many as people as they want to.
Okay, what about the legalization of polygamy?
Polygamy. I will definitely. Oh man. You know what? It's a tough one because
polygamy is not a healthy, happy lifestyle like it's portrayed. It's really it's a system of oppression. And when people grow up in a system of oppression, they sometimes feel like it's okay and it's normal when it's not.
And the grapes and the cakes, hey!
When The Girls Next Door aired, it was the first peek that America got into a polyamorous relationship. But the media's false portrayal just fed this misogynistic monster that society has created. It glorified polyamory by completely fantasizing it, showing trophy girlfriends, and it just over-sexualized something that's more than just an orgy. For some people, it's an actual lifestyle, and it allows men and women to openly date multiple people. It's not just there to feed men's sexual urges.
For me, it's like maybe like a threesome. Like, hey, let's do this one time and see how it goes, and hell yeah. But not that deep.
How do you view men that are in those types of relationships? Do you think that it's genuine, or...
I don't know anybody personally, but like sister wife style, I look at him and I'm like, oh, so you're having your cake and you're eating it too. I don't really like it. I don't know.
So how would you feel about a woman that had multiple husbands?
I wouldn't like that either.
You think she's eating her cake too?
I would think yeah, but you know what? Again, two sides to that story, because I would say you're having your cake and you're eating it too, but then I would say, well, it's about damn time a woman got to do what a man's been doing forever. So, go girl. You know, like...
Yeah.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. When you ask someone if they support polygamy, they'll say no. But if you ask them if they've ever been in love with 2 people at the same time, they'll say yes. Or they at least acknowledge that it's possible. So my question is, if someone genuinely is in love with 2 people, why stop there? Human beings are polygamous by nature. Early Homo sapiens were polyamorous. So why are we resisting something that is actually natural? Well, you know, society tells us that it's wrong. We get shown these family models, the stay-at-home mom, the working dad, their kid. This sort of rigid idea of marriage is constantly being reinforced, even as we progress. We get taught it's wrong to date multiple people, to be attracted to more than one person, and this is how the culture of cheating begins.
Cody and I met. I guess I was just young and in love. He and I both knew that we would take another wife or wives into the family.
I just fell in love, and then I fell in love again, and then I fell in love again.
This is my husband. We've been married for almost 4 years, and we've been together for almost 10 years. Megan is our girlfriend, and we have been with her for almost 3 years.
Group marriage, I think, so I feel similarly to group marriage as I would to a polygamous relationship, except that I would be a lot less concerned over the mental well-being of everyone. I think if you have multiple wives and multiple husbands, you're just creating a better chance for group success, because, you know, you have people that have really strong friendships and you're forming bonds with a lot of different people, and you're not feeling like you're the only... It's not putting one person in power, it's kind of empowering the entire group.
Man, I don't think I've ever tried it. I mean, I don't think I would want to. It's a lot of time that I would have to, you know, put out there. I think it's impossible. Like you.
I find it interesting, but also baffling. My concern would be with human nature of jealousy and how you, as someone who would be the female, would have to calm that natural like reaction to be jealous and territorial. Like you have to just let all of that go, which I think is challenging, and it's constant. It would be a constant thing.
Good. It's a competitive thing with me with men, and like I don't feel that really with women. So like I don't mind if she kisses women. It's hard a little bit because it kind of sometimes makes me feel like I have to reciprocate that, and that's totally uncomfortable for me.
By reciprocate, you mean if I get a girl to kiss you, then I get
then
to
I
kiss
should
a
make
guy.
I should make a guy kiss you, or I should let a guy kiss you. I'm like I don't want to.
In our experience, it's always more difficult when monogamous people come into the picture. They kind of want the lover all to themselves, and there's no sense.
The inner person is always going to feel jealous. So I don't know how one will ever be able to do that for long term. Maybe they're going to do that because they're insecure and they want attention, or they want something out of it, but they're never going to really be happy.
You said she was out with her other lover. I thought that's where you were. Lie.
I didn't actually say that.
I'm really pissed. I'm really pissed.
I mean, I just came here to snuggle. I fell asleep. It wasn't.
Did you just snuggle? No. We made love last night, and I didn't know that. So you just came in here to snuggle, and then you have sex, and you don't tell me about it.
They were already making love, and then I just kind of joined.
Another polygamous structure, and maybe more palatable to the Western sentiment, is when each wife resides in her own separate home and with her own children, a community of nuclear families linked by the same husband and father. The less practiced form of polygamy is polyandry, a marriage between one woman and multiple simultaneous husbands. But more specifically, fraternal polyandry, a marriage between one woman and multiple consanguineous brothers, is a common practice in the Himalayan mountains of Tibet. The arrangement of one wife serving multiple husbands, who are brothers, accomplishes two important objectives. It limits the number of children by preserving family wealth. Due to scarce environmental resources in these mountain communities, it is critical that human population growth is stunted. This marriage arrangement promotes a better chance of survival for each child while ensuring the child's quality of life. Additionally, it guarantees that the ancestral property remains intact, undivided, and sustainable for the production of food.
It's not the same.
It's not a sister-wives situation?
No.
Or a brother-husband situation, or whatever you would call it.
Actually, they are brothers, though.
Like by blood?
By blood.
A marriage between one woman and multiple simultaneous husbands. Shoot.
I, once again, don't agree with it. I think that there should only be, if you are going to marry someone, it should only be one other person, and you should remain faithful and loyal to that person. Once again, it's not my life, so I guess I shouldn't be judging other people, but I just don't agree with it.
How do you view these women with multiple husbands?
I view them the same way that I would view the man. If it's a part of their religion, then 100% I understand why they would do it, because they don't know any better, or they don't know anything else, I should say. But if they are just like me, I think it's pretty strange.
Married
so her
to
children are siblings and cousins? I don't understand what you're even saying, but back to your point. Back to your point.
No, that's a little weird.
Is that worse?
No, I just think it's weird. Like, it's, I don't know, it's a little weird. Not for me. They can do it.
How do I feel about the legalization of polygamy? So I understand that polygamy is legally practiced in the Middle East, in the Muslim culture, and but that is, and in some fringe Christian and even Jewish cultures, you'll find some polygynous societies. However, those are based on mores that have been practiced for centuries. So the legalization of polygamy in Western society, I just don't think it's practical, and I think it is it's self-serving. I think it's going to serve the man, and I think that it's going to be at the female's detriment, and it just makes me really uncomfortable to go down that road, because it would be polygyny is what would be practiced in Western culture. I mean, women are so much more forgiving than men. I mean,
how does polygamy solve any of those problems?